Have you ever noticed there are certain spots on some maps that will sometimes let you stand on them and sometimes not, no matter what you try, and it can almost seem random as to whether or not it will let you stand on them? This is a phenomenon that sometimes occurs in source games at the point where a steep slope meets a wall. It's often the case, at least in TF2, that this phenomenon occurs with clip brushes that were ironically intended to prevent players from standing on map geometry, although it can also occur with different types of slopes as well. The area that you can stand on in these locations is so narrow that even the slightest movement in the opposite direction will make you fall right off. Hence, players have taken to calling it the pixel walk. So, why does pixel walking occur? Well, I don't know exactly what's happening within the wretched guts of the source engine, but from my understanding, this occurs when your collision hull or player position moves a little too close to a wall than is intended, so much that you could say that your body partially enters the inside of the wall, which then allows you to stand on top of the tip or corner of a slope rather than slip off the sides. It would seem that approaching a wall at certain velocities or angles will allow you to move closer or deeper into the wall than usual, which then allows you to initiate the pixel walk. Take this wall for instance. Here's me holding W and moving my crosshair very slowly to the right until I hit a certain angle that nudges me ever so slightly forwards, which then allows me to walk on the slope here as long as I don't move in any direction away from the wall. Now, that begs the question, can we consistently recreate the conditions needed to dig into the wall without precise mouse movements every time? The answer is yes, with some exceptions, but I'll get to that in a second. Now, without further ado, the secret to consistent pixel walking in TF2 is you gotta kinda wiggle yourself into the wall.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
I've yet to find a method more consistent than jumping into a wall, holding W, and spamming 80, 80, 80, 80. Assuming you have enough airtime to enter at least a few inputs before hitting your destination, this method will have you successfully pixel walking almost 100% of the time. My hypothesis here is that the combination of being airborne and spamming strafe covers a large enough spectrum of velocities by sheer brute force to eventually hit the angle that you need to dig into the wall. But what of those times where you don't have the chance to spam any inputs? The solution here is to increase your airtime, be that with a blast jump or whatever means you might have available. If that isn't an option for whatever reason, you might just have to keep trying until you get lucky and the game lets you in. Alternatively, you might also have the option to install yourself into the wall from somewhere with more secure footing before attempting the pixel walk. In fact, I would probably say this is your safest, most optimal way of initiating this type of pixel walk, assuming you have that option available. Here are some easy to understand examples. If there's obstruction above your head, that's going to limit your airtime when you attempt to jump and wiggle directly to the pixel walk. Therefore, it's safer to perform the wiggle against the part of the wall that you aren't going to fall off, to make sure that you're snug against that wall before you attempt the actual pixel walk. I feel like I'm dumbing this down way too much. Here's another example for good measure. If you were to det jump directly to this spot, the window that you have to wiggle spam is fairly narrow, so it's safer to wiggle against the part of the wall that you can actually stand on before you attempt the det jump. Is this all making sense? Please keep in mind that these tips mostly only apply to regular pixel walks against vertical walls, and also that not every slope against a vertical wall can be pixel walked on. Specifically, I'm referring to these sloped clip brushes, which can be misleading considering how many of them you can pixel walk on. A lot of them actually extend deeper into the wall than you can wiggle into the wall, disallowing you from standing on the top. It can also be possible to pixel walk at the point where one segment of a slope meets another, although unfortunately wiggling doesn't seem to help much in these cases, and if anything only makes it more difficult actually. For these types of pixel walks, you can actually get in fairly consistently if you can strafe at it from level or slightly lower ground. However, this scenario is pretty rare, and it's more likely that you'll have to jump to reach your destination. The only problem being that jumping to these locations is extremely inconsistent. Your best bet here is jumping so that you reach the seam just around the peak of your jump when you have minimum velocity. You might be able to improve your chances of getting in by memorizing the optimal way to jump for each specific spot, but putting aside the time and effort that would take, it's probably still going to take a lot of luck and persistence, just trying again and again until the game lets you in. Another exception I wanted to go over is these pillars on Lakeside Mid. Now, I can't figure out for the life of me why, but you can sometimes pixel walk on the sides of these things, even at points where there are no seams. Unlike other types of pixel walks, if you try to jump in place while pixel walking on these pillars, you won't return to your original footing and will instead slide right off. I've yet to find any other location where this specific phenomenon occurs. So you might be thinking to yourself, wow, this pixel walking business sounds pretty tedious. Why would I ever want to do that? Are you telling me you don't want to fail a detonator jump 5 times to reach an impractical hiding spot just to jump down on some guy that just got the game only to fail to kill him anyway because the only thing your playstyle is good for is making an extremely niche genre of YouTube videos? Don't worry, there's plenty more uses for pixel walking that are actually practical or fun. I feel like this information is actually more useful for spy or even soldier players than pyro. It's just that as a pyro player myself, this is coming from my perspective and what I would use it for. But, regardless of class or playstyle, knowledge of pixel walking is still bound to help you out at some point, even if you don't go out of your way to try to use it. Or maybe, going out of your way to use it is a game-making play, I don't know. All I know is that it's good to have options when navigating a map, and pixel walking can be a good option. Hey, who knows when you might find use for a pixel walk? It could be something as minuscule as saving 8 HP by doing a more optimal jump. Can you remember how many times you were saved by having at least 8 HP left? Maybe having access to that obscure hiding spot was the advantage you needed to outsmart your enemy. What if the enemy medic is about to crit, and the only way to stop them is to get on the flank via pixel walk? Trust me man, your team's gonna freak out when they see you hit that sick pixel walk. They're gonna come up to you and say, "Whoa, that was so cool, how'd you do that, where'd you learn that?" And you're gonna look at them and you're gonna smile and say, "Subscribe to sketchek on YouTube." Okay, the well of things to say while the footage plays has run well and truly dry. Thank you everyone for watching. Do actually subscribe, follow me on Twitter, all that jazz, and enjoy these frags.